I'm going to start recording the session. And also, I wanted to just start off by thanking Tracy from Shaker, who's going to be on the call today, and also seeing if there was anything that, my colleagues who are on the line, Scott Erickson or Ken Brightbill, had anything to say before we turn it over to Tracy and get started today.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, Maria, Shaker's been a great partner to us for a number of years now, and just want to put a quick plug in to use the Extranet site in regards to requests. I think that's the best mode for getting information logged and managed through that system, and Shaker can kind of go through that, and I'm happy to do a screen share of how to use that, or reach out to me if you have questions about using that system. I'm happy to help there. That's what I would add. Thanks, Maria.
Yeah, say Maria. I would echo those sentiments, and definitely just leverage their expertise. And when you feel like you've kind of tried everything in terms of recruitment, you can always reach out to Shaker for some, input on maybe some things that are new and working for other markets that we can kind of tailor to your facility. And obviously, I know they'll be going over that today. So looking forward to hearing from the experts.
Well, thank you, Tracy. We will turn it over to you. And today, Tracy's going to be talking about also how to get some of the best results, how to maybe go in with a plan so that you're more quickly able to make decisions or get that, service from Shaker. And then also so that Shaker can explain to you a little bit about what it takes to get everything together on certain requests that we may have. So without further ado, Tracy, thanks for being on the call today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the introductions and the plugs and all of that. Again, my name is Tracy Wasco. I'm a director of client services at Shaker Recruitment Marketing. We also have a few others who are sitting in on the call today. So they may pipe in if I miss something along the way. A lot of them work with many of you on many of your requests. It definitely takes a team effort. So don't be surprised if you see someone pop in here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. And I'm also going to deactivate, if I can, my camera just to make sure I don't get booted here. Let's see if I can do this. Stop video. Okay, can everyone still see my screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. All right. Well, again, thanks for taking the time today. It'll probably be about half hour, 40-minute presentation. Please, if you have, during the call, any questions, please use the chat function. I know there's going to be a few people who are going to be monitoring that, and please interrupt me as I go along. This is definitely for you. And we want to make sure that, we are helping you in any way, shape, or form. So please stop me along the way as we go through some different resources here. All right, so really brief, I'm just going to give you a quick overview. I know, we've done this presentation a couple of times over the years, but I know many of you are new or newer to UHS or to your facility. So you may have heard rumblings of Shaker and to use Shaker, but you may not know who Shaker is or what Shaker is. So I'll just do a really brief recap and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty here. So Shaker Recruitment Marketing, we are an advertising agency, but we specialize in recruitment marketing. We are a family-owned company based out of Chicago. We are in our 3rd generation and have been in business we are actually celebrating our 70-year anniversary this year. Again, we're in Chicago based. I have offices all over the United States. I'm actually based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have a few folks in the Chicago area, but we actually have them in Florida, in California, in St. Louis. And that's really specific to your Shaker team at Shaker. So, we try and line up the different facilities with the different time zones of our team and where we are at. But of course, there are a lot of you, so we're just trying to act as quickly as we can when the requests come in. Besides UHS, we work with clients of all shapes and sizes and all different industries. So yes, you are a major healthcare corporation company, but we also work with a lot of companies, you know, from restaurant to hospitality to logistics, to retail, CPG. So we have expertise in a lot of different industries, and a lot of that times that overlaps. So we're really utilizing our expertise when it comes to every single request that comes in. What we do, and again, this is very brief, very bucketed, but we help the companies that we work with in really all aspects of recruitment marketing, all the way from employer branding, making sure that your recruitment message aligns with your company or your product messages, you know, kind of what's consumer, or in your case, patient focused. We're making sure that employer branding is aligned with that, and that we develop the appropriate messaging and creative that is aligned with that. But it also speaks to candidates, right? Candidates who you want to work for you. So we want to make sure that we're putting out that message that is familiar with your company, but speaks to the employee or the candidate. From there, the candidate employee communications, that's really a majority of what we do for UHS. It's helping you put together the tools and the resources that you need to help you go out and find those candidates through media, through vendors, through different partners, in any way, shape, or form that we can find. This is a majority of what we do for you on a daily basis. Design and development, we have a whole creative team in-house at Shaker, along with the development team that develops all of the creative in anything that we do, whether it's online banners, whether it's print ads, whether it's brochures, you know, anything that you can think of that we are developing to communicate your recruitment message. It's also developing career sites. All of your career landing pages that are live right now, that initial career landing page, along with the job search pages, those we developed those about 3 years ago now. We've also developed more overarching career sites for George Washington University and also the Valley Health System. So if you want to visit those sites, we've developed all those, you know, more robust career sites for those facilities and systems. And then finally, performance and metrics. This is a very fast growing team at Shaker. It's something that I know, you know, we get requests from all of you every day is how is my campaign performing? And there's a lot of different ways that we get that information. And so we have a team that helps gather that information, make sense of that information, and reports it back to you. But today, what we're specifically talking about is what do we do for UHS? You know, a lot of you know Shaker as the one to go to get your job sponsored on Indeed. When in fact, we are partnered with UHS to support all facilities with any and all recruitment initiatives in any way we can to help you increase candidate traffic. So yes, Indeed sponsored jobs is a huge part of that. It's one of our main and top go-tos, and make sure that you are on Indeed. But we do a lot of other things. And what we want to do today is go over what are the most common things that we do to help UHS facilities and helping them increase candidate flow. So I'm going to start with Indeed. And I know a lot of you are very familiar with Indeed, but you know, we do get a lot of, you know, questions that are asked over and over and over again. So we thought this would be a good time to address some of those questions and hope clear up kind of the misconceptions here. So organic job postings, all of your jobs that you have assigned to a rec in iCIMS and are posted on the UHS career site and your own job search pages, those are all organically scraped to Indeed.com. Right? So every job rec that is over does have some visibility on Indeed, and that's what we call organic job postings. Those job recs on Indeed are definitely searchable. So if I'm a candidate in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and I'm searching for an RN, and I specifically say, you know, search terms, registered nurse, location, Auburn Hills, Michigan, your jobs that are organically scraped from your site if you're located in Auburn, if your location is in Auburn, Michigan, will pop up, but they probably won't pop up on the first page of the search results. With organic postings, yes, they are on there, but they may fall to the 7th, 8th, or 9th page as candidates scroll through all of those job recs. So when you sponsor a job on Indeed, it means that you are putting budget behind those jobs. And a lot of times you're just putting budget behind, your most challenging jobs. What are the jobs that you need to hire the most people for, or the most urgently for? So Shaker and Indeed and UHS are very much work together in this initiative, where if you want to sponsor some jobs on Indeed, you come to us and we will help you upload a budget to your Indeed dashboard. Every single one of your facilities has a dashboard on Indeed, and that's your platform on Indeed that you can sponsor your jobs. Our job at Shaker is to make sure that platform and your dashboard is funded when you need money in there to sponsor your jobs. We have this system centralized just because overall for UHS, it allows UHS to be a featured employer on Indeed.com. If it was just individual accounts set up, you would not have kind of that overarching featured employer status. So that is the reason why we do it that way. It also allows Shaker to really help out. If you have questions on how to sponsor jobs, or why isn't this particular sponsored job, delivering enough candidates, we can help you adjust things to help to help increase that. And we also work very closely with Indeed. So if we need their help, we can, get to them very quickly for them to jump in and help with any questions. The reason why Indeed is such a top choice is it is the top job board in the United States. It is very widely known. If you're an active job seeker, most likely Indeed is going to be at the top of your list to go and try and find a job. So it is one of our top recommendations if you have urgent hiring needs. It is a pay-per-click site, meaning when you post a job or sponsor a job on Indeed, and let's say you put $200 behind a particular job, you are only paying for that job, that $200, when a candidate actually clicks on your job posting on Indeed. So it's not like in the old days when you were posting a job for 30 days for $300, whether it got clicks or not, or candidates or not, that's what you paid. Indeed is a pay-per-click site. And you can manipulate it very easily. If you set up a job on Indeed where you want to sponsor a job, put $300 behind it for 30 days, you can do that. And then after 2 weeks, you have 50 candidates that you have waiting to look at. You can actually stop that job posting and save the rest of the budget for a different job. So it's very easy to manipulate. You have access to your dashboard to sponsor the jobs and take down, put up postings, take down postings, change up the verbiage in postings. So you have that flexibility and that access to your dashboard. The minimum budget upload to Indeed is $1,500 at any given time. So even if you just want to sponsor a job for $200, Indeed does require a $1,500 minimum that does get uploaded. But again, you're only drawing down from that initial budget, that $1,500, with every job that you sponsor on Indeed. So sometimes that $1,500 could last you 2 weeks. Sometimes that $1,500 could last you a year, depending how active you are in sponsoring your jobs. Now, $1,500, as I said, is a minimum. A lot of your facilities upload more than that, just because they are sponsoring a lot of jobs and they don't want to keep on uploading budget on a weekly basis. Sometimes they're uploading $3,000 or even $5,000, just to make sure that you have budget in your dashboard or on your dashboard to sponsor jobs at your will over a longer duration of time, and that there's really no downtime in jobs coming down because you ran out of budget. What else can I say here? Indeed sponsored jobs. Like I said, all the recruiters that you want can have access to the dashboard to sponsored jobs. If you would like Shaker to help you in actually posting the jobs, we certainly can. However, there will be a small fee for us to do that. As you can imagine, with over 300 facilities at UHS, and if we helped everyone sponsor jobs, your job probably wouldn't be posted for 2 weeks. So, you know, we want to make sure that you have access. Again, we can help you if needed. We can walk you through it. We're more than happy to do it. And also know that we can post those jobs if you'd like. Oh, here is actually a screenshot of a sponsored job. So as you can see at the top here, this is these search fields here. This is what candidates see and how they search for jobs on Indeed. So, you know, what are you searching for? A mental health technician. If I'm a mental health technician, I'm looking for a job on Indeed. That's most likely a search term that I would put in there, along with the location. Where do I live? Where am I looking for a job? And when I did just that, I am not putting in any, you know, company name or hospital name or facility name. I'm just doing it with the job title and location. My first page of results, and as you can see here, if anyone here is from Clarion, you have the top 3 spots on the very first page of those search results. So those are sponsored jobs, and this is exactly where you want to be. You know, this is the first thing that candidates see when they're on Indeed, when they're putting in those search terms. So this is a very good example. And when you hover over one of these, this mental health technician, this is actually a hiring event. You can see on the right panel here, a view of what's included in that. So this is actually, you get the view, and then when, you know, that click that candidates are actually clicking on and what you're paying for is when someone really wants to go into that posting and get more information and apply or RSVP. So that click is really an informed click that you're paying for. All right, on to Indeed hiring events. So Indeed has a platform, and a lot of you use this for your job fairs, whether they're in person or they're virtual events. But Indeed has a platform, and it's really a technology that allows you to host your hiring event information on their site. So it works very much like a sponsored job, but what you're doing is you're sponsoring the information about your hiring event. So it has a very similar, it's a format like this. So this one is showing an Indeed hiring event that is actually live right now for Friends Hospital. That's happening a week from today. This is a template format. It doesn't change. It's the same template that everyone uses that runs Indeed hiring event page. It has, you know, your logo. It has the title of the event. It has the location of where the facility is. You can list all the jobs that you are interviewing and hiring for at your event. It also gives company information, you know, kind of an about us, you know, who are you, you know, kind of, you know, 1 to 2 paragraphs of, you know, who you are and what you want the candidate to know about you. It also helps prepare the candidate for the event. So you'll see here, you know, what to bring to the event, you know, whether it's in person or virtual. You may want them to make sure that they have their resume on hand, or that they have a form of identification or proof of licensure in you know, whatever position you're hiring for. Also, you know, what should they wear? Do you want them, you know, do you want them to come up professionally dressed in a suit and a tie? Or do you care if they're in scrubs, if they're, you know, at another job at the moment and they're, you know, if they're doing a virtual event or scooting over to your location, do you care if they're in scrubs or their work attire? So it just helps them prepare so that they know how to prepare and kind of put their best foot forward during the interview. It also gives details on the event. This is actually an in-person event. So it's saying hiring event details, offers on the spot. The date, the time, the location, and it also gives the candidate a chance to RSVP for the event so that you have an idea of how many people are interested in coming to your event. The only information the candidate needs to give is their first name, last name, and their email address. Also, if there are more jobs, if it's more than just one job, it's a drop down menu here of what job am I interested in? Am I interested in the psych RN job or the behavioral health specialist position? It gives you an idea of how many candidates are coming to your event and interested in each type of position. It just helps you prepare, you know, how many people do I need there to interview that day? Do I need just a couple, or do I need to make sure I'm staffed up with 5 or 6 different people to help accommodate the candidates? And then finally, here is something that's optional, is you can set up interview times. And this is also for in-person and virtual. If you want people to sign up for, you know, a 10 o'clock time slot or an 11 o'clock time slot, it just helps it can help you manage your day a little bit better, and allowing, you know, a certain number of slots, interview time slots for different time periods throughout the event duration. You don't have to do this, but Indeed does give you the option. Now, when candidates RSVP to an event, every day after this event page is launched, you will receive an email from Indeed that notifies you of how many people have RSVP'd to your event. You will also receive an Excel document with the candidate information, all the information that they, you know, that they input above. So you will have that every day leading up to the event. And so as you can see here, Friends Hospital, their event is next Tuesday. So far, they have 82 RSVPs for this event, which is actually pretty good. They've got another week to go here. Kind of one rule of thumb that we want to make sure we communicate is these work best, these Indeed hiring events work best when you launch them 14 days prior to the event date. So I know a lot of times you guys are running really quickly and you said, you know, I want to have a hiring event next week. We would not recommend that. We need to give Indeed the time it takes for them to really garner as many candidates as they can and to reach as many candidates as they can on their platform to give you enough RSVPs. So 14 days is really ideal to launch your event. Also, please keep in mind that it does take a little bit of prep time in order for us to help launch this Indeed hiring event page. You know, there's certain information that we need. We need the job recs. We need all the answers to your questions in terms of what do you want candidates to bring to the event? What do you want them to wear? You know, just to kind of gather all that information so we can build this page for you. You know, and there's a lot of back and forth with Indeed as well. And so we handle all of that, but just know it's not immediate. It does take a little bit of time. And so we would request that it takes, or just say that it takes about 48 business hours from the time we have all the information to the time it gets launched. So, you know, some days we could do it within, you know, 2-3 hours, but sometimes it may take a day or two. So we just want to make sure we have a little bit of a buffer. Benchmark numbers, Indeed always says, depending on, you know, the total number of RSVPs, the actual show rate, whether it's in person or virtual, is about 25 to 30%. So I'm not that great at math, but 82 RSVPs, that's what, about 22 people that they estimate actually showing up to your event. So just a little bit of math. You know, we've had events where, you know, facilities are getting 300 RSVPs. And we've also had some events where they're getting 25 RSVPs. So it's not, it's not the same ROI by market. It really depends on the market you're in, the job titles that you're interviewing for, how many people you're wanting to hire. So there's a lot of factors that come into play, but we can also help you figure out, you know, what kind of budget. Again, this is, you know, minimum of $1,500 to spend on an Indeed hiring event page, but you can go all the way up, you know, you can spend whatever you'd like, but we can help you figure out what you should spend to garner the most candidates for your event, depending on how many people you would like to hire. All right, any questions that I can answer right now? Anything that's popping up? I'm not keeping an eye on the chat. No? Okay, just interrupt me if there are. Okay, now, again, a lot of people think of Shaker as just getting help with Indeed, but we do a lot more than that. And some of the things that we do to help support Indeed hiring events and just support just general recruitment in general. One of them that's the easiest and least expensive to do, they're called social bites. And you'll see a couple of examples here. They're really, they're templates that we created in conjunction with the UHS marketing team to help, creatively communicate your hiring needs, whether it's for a position like the one you see on the right, or excuse me, on the left here, or the event. And when we develop these, and we develop them, we send them to you, we get your feedback, we make changes, but once they are approved, then we send them to whoever is in charge of your social platform. So think about your company Facebook page, your company LinkedIn page. We want to make sure the people who manage those pages get these assets, these social bites, to post on those social platforms. And when you post them to the social platforms, they can also include a link underneath that leads them back to either a specific job rec or to the Indeed hiring event page if you have one set up for your hiring event. So it's just a way, if you want to make sure that you communicate to the followers on your social platforms, this is a great way to do it. In terms of, kind of expectations here, if you would like a social bite, it usually takes about 2 to 3 day business day turnaround for us to get this into our creative department, for them to develop the template and get it back to you. So it is a pretty easy, so again, sometimes on easy days, we can get it done within a couple of hours, but I would say general expectations about 2 to 3 business day turnaround. All right, text blasts and text conversations. We use text blasts a lot and text conversations a lot to help promote hiring events. It's a very targeted way to reach candidates in a active candidates and also passive candidates. We use a vendor. Mostly, we use this vendor, and they're called Next, N-E-X-X-T, and they are part of a network of a lot of different job boards and associations and niche sites the sites gather candidate information, and they gather candidate information of those who have opted in to receive recruitment messages and information and so on from companies. So, we work with Next to build proposals, based on the hiring need of who you are. So for example, you're looking for mental health technicians. I'm going to still use Auburn Hills, Michigan. When we reach out to Next, they provide us the number of people that they have in their candidate database that fit that profile. And then they tell us, okay, we have, 753 people who fit that profile within a 25-mile radius of Auburn Hills, Minnesota, or Auburn Hills, Michigan. And then they give us a cost on that. So there are actually 2 different ways that you can do this. There's a text blast and there's a text conversation. A text blast is, you think about a text that just, any kind of personal text that you get, it's one text, and there are character limitations of 130 characters. So it's a pretty short and succinct message, but you can get a lot in that sentence or 2. Targeting, these certain folks, and it includes a link, right? So here, I think I have a couple examples here. Here's a couple of examples of a text blast. Attention healthcare professionals, please join Clarion Psychiatric Center at our on-site job fair, September 18th from 11 to 2 p.m. Please RSVP. This please RSVP is a link, and it actually links to an Indeed hiring event page. So you can link outside media and outside advertising to drive candidates to your Indeed hiring event page. And you are not charged by Indeed for those outside folks coming in. You're paying for the text blast, but Indeed doesn't charge you for those RSVPs. They're only charging you for the candidates that RSVP that originally started on Indeed. Back to, so that is a text blast. It's the one text message. Now you can also do a text conversation where you're that leading message that you're sending out is a question, right? Or it's something that's trying to lead into a conversation. And when you do this, your recruiters will have access to a dashboard that they can manage all of these candidate conversations on. So here again, here's a sample text conversation. So this is, basically coding. And so, since next has all this candidate information, it could be, hi, Susan, UHS has behavioral health locations with RN openings available near you. Interested in learning, reply or apply. And then again, it has a link that they could link on, which then goes back to Sunny. So this is Sunny Hill. And then she can manage that conversation from there. So if a candidate replies, Sunny can engage with that candidate and really lead them to, to the next step, whether it's to apply to a specific job rec, or if it's just to jump on the phone right then and there, wherever Sunny wants them to go, that really helps engage with the candidate right then and there. And as you know, with text messages, and you think of your own personal use with text messages, it is a pretty fast-paced and immediate medium. I think if you saw these, kind of return on investments below here, this is their benchmark numbers. With text messages, it's a 97% open rate. So, think about the text messages that you come in. I mean, I know I don't really leave any text messages go, and that's kind of what email has turned into. Sometimes you don't answer all of your emails, but with text messages, it's still that very immediate and urgent notification that you get. And, it's, by a audio, by a ping or vibration or something that you immediately go to. It also has a 7.2 CTR, which means click-through rate, which means, okay, if 1,000 people, get this text blast, 7.2% of them will click on that text message. So that's really their benchmark rate. 12+ million opt-in candidates. That just means that that's the number of candidates that Next has in their system. That you have potential to reach. However, we always narrow it down specific to the job title, specific to the location. With conversations, it's just a little bit lower CTR. It's, it's asking a little bit more from the candidate, asking them to engage right then and there, but their benchmark CTR is about 4.5%. And here's a couple of examples, recent examples that we've done, one for Hillcrest Behavioral and one for Havenwick Hospital, both looking for mental health technicians. You see a lot of different job titles. And the reason why is with, I'm sure Hillcrest came to us and said, we want to hire mental health technicians. Yes, we want to include that in our keyword search when we go to Next, but we also want to input, however people who may work in a very similar capacity, whether it's called mental health worker or behavioral health specialist, whatever their job title is called, wherever they are working now, we want to make sure that we include how they identify themselves, right? So they're not going to see any of this, but this is how we determine how many people we can reach. So target keywords, the market, obviously, that you're trying to target. Also the radius, what is a mile radius that you want to look at when recruiting? This is also going to be determined on budget, right? So in some of your larger markets, you may only want to target a 5-mile radius. If you live in Boston, you're going to reach a lot of people that live in Boston. But in some of the smaller markets, you are going to be able to really expand your reach if there aren't that many people in that market. So with this particular search, looking for mental health technicians in Birmingham, Alabama with a 30-mile reach, Next came back to us and said, okay, we have 653 people in our database that we can send a text message out to, and the cost is $1,000 at $1,086. From that, this is a return. This is something that we've already done. They received 50 clicks from those from those text messages. So 50 people that received of the 653 that was sent out to, 50 people clicked on it. So of a click rate of 7.66%. You know, very similar campaign that we did with Havenwick Hospital in Auburn Hills, Michigan. You know, 35-mile radius reached 753 people. Again, that cost was 1,086. 82 clicks with a 10.89%. So, you know, again, we cannot promise you that we're going to get you that benchmark or even higher. You know, we definitely have come in less. I would say not too much less than the benchmark. But we found this to be a pretty effective way of advertising, especially with kind of that more urgent message. And that's why we do it a lot with Indeed Hiring Events. All right, search engine marketing. Search engine marketing, you know, think of Google and Bing, where you do your search, where you do your general searches for anything and everything. Same thing goes with recruitment. We're finding that 83%, this has been kind of the general number for years, about 83% of job seekers, they don't go to Indeed right away. They don't go to the job boards. What they do is they go to the search engines and type in, where are nurse jobs around me, right? And when they put in those search terms, you know, the first search results that come up, which most likely you'll see all the time, are the Indeeds, are the Career Builders, are the Monsters, are any kind of job boards out there that have those type of positions posted on them. Those search engines pay a lot of money with Google and Bing to promote their job boards. This is probably one of the most popular or common recommendations that we make to our clients is search engine marketing, because if you as a company are going to be in that first couple of search results as a company and not a job board, you can be very specific, you know, with the copy. And it's not a lot of copy here. It's kind of small. So hopefully you can see this, but the first 3 search results here are paid search engine marketing campaigns. And so they fall at the very top of the page on the search results, and they'll fall on the first page. Sometimes they'll fall on the second page and the third page, but we found this a very effective way of advertising. Like Indeed, it's a pay-per-click. So a lot of times, you know, you're getting a proposal, you're going to see a number that says impressions, and that number is going to be very high. So someone that types in registered nurse in Auburn Hills, Michigan, your ad may pop up like right here, like one of these top 3 positions. But if someone doesn't click on it, you don't pay for it. So the brand impressions, it's almost a lot of brand awareness here. People are going to see your name in the copy. And so it's more of a brand awareness. And then if they click on it, that's when you pay for it. And you can lead them back to a job rec. You can lead them back to an Indeed Hiring Event page. So search engine marketing benchmarks, cost per click is we benchmark that around $2. The click-through rate is about 1%. Again, if this is something that you're looking to do, it usually takes us about 4 to 5 business days to put a proposal together. Here is actually a sample of a metrics report. We can provide metrics on all search engine marketing or PPC, what we call PPC campaigns, pay-per-click campaigns. This is one that we did for Fuller Hospital last spring. It was about a month-long campaign for registered nurses and mental health technicians. You see here the impressions, the people that they reached that saw the ad, the people that actually clicked on it, the click-through rate, the cost per click, the dollar amount spent, and also any kind of remaining budget that you may have. So, and we always provide, you know, kind of insights or a summary of the campaign that ran. Very similar to Facebook. Facebook, again, is a site and a media that you don't think people go to search for jobs, and most likely they're not. If you are a Facebook user, you go to it to see what your friends and family are doing. A Facebook campaign is a very good way to target a community, and you can't target specifically by job title or keyword. That has changed quite a bit over the last year or so. Facebook has had a lot of restrictions on it to how you can target candidates on Facebook, but you can target them by interests. So if you think about when you set up your Facebook page, you know, you may have said, okay, I'm interested in, you know, healthcare and wellness. I'm interested in jobs. I'm interested, you know, there's a whole list of things that you can click on. And so we develop our Facebook campaigns or proposals based on certain interest level, based on location, where the job is at. And then we develop these proposals based on share of voice, meaning how many times you're going to reach people while they're on Facebook if they fit within this audience profile. This is an example of a Facebook campaign or an ad that we placed for Canyon Creek Behavioral Health. So again, it's very simple. It's an image. It's a very, you know, short message of what, you know, we're hiring registered nurses and recreational therapists at Canyon Creek Behavioral. Down here, it gives you an option to, you know, provide, you know, a link. And this one actually went to a specific job rec. You can also lead candidates back to your Indeed Hire an Event page. So it's your determination of where you want to lead candidates. Benchmark for this type of advertising, again, it's about a $2 cost per click and a 0.5% CTR. That may seem really incredibly low, but if you think about how many people you're actually reaching on Facebook, it can get pretty significant. And here's an example of metrics again for Facebook. So it looks very similar to what we're delivering for search engine marketing, but it's also giving you, if you know, familiar with Facebook, you know that people like, you know, they can like a post, they can share a post, they can put comments on a post. We are keeping track of all of that. And so you can see not only the people that you're reaching by, you know, who's clicking on it, but how many people are actually engaging with the post. And so that's pretty important information, you know, to know while you're running these campaigns and keep track of. Okay, targeted email blasts. We develop a few email blasts. Again, email blasts aren't as in our opinion, as effective as text blasts. However, as you can see here, there's a lot more information that you can fit in an email blast than a text blast. These are what we call HTML creative, meaning we can make an email look really pretty. It looks like a piece of creative, like a print ad that you would run in a newspaper. So these are two examples, one we did for Emerald Coast and one we did for Wellington Regional Medical Center. Has a lot of information, and when in the email, it has certain buttons here, you know, explore our open opportunities and apply today. You click on those, and again, you can lead candidates back to, you know, wherever you want to lead them, a job rec or wherever. We help you buy or purchase or rent email lists. You know, a lot of times we get those from associations or certain job boards that are selling their candidate lists. You know, candidates who have opted in to receive this type of information. Sometimes you may have an existing list, a candidate list that, you know, that you have. And so we're just creating the HTML creative template, and then you can send it out on your own. So a couple of different ways that we can do that. This is actually metrics from an email blast that we did for Emerald Coast Behavioral Hospital. It was targeting psychiatric registered nurse, mental health nurse. They wanted to target a few different cities. And I guess I kind of failed to mention this with the other advertising too. So when you think about advertising, yes, you want to think about advertising in your local market, but also think about surrounding markets, right? That you may want to draw candidates from, you know, candidates that the markets may be 20, 30 miles away, or even further, markets where you want candidates to think about moving to your market. It's definitely been done before. So Emerald Coast Behavioral, they had 5 different email campaigns here. They are based in Panama City, but they also reached out to Atlanta, Georgia, Birmingham, Alabama, and Nashville. And so these are the 5 different emails that we sent out. The email count, the number of candidates that were sent the email, the number of impressions, the number of clicks, the people that actually opened and clicked on the email, and then the click-through rate here. So, you know, no surprise, within Panama City, Florida, they received the highest click-through rate of 16%, which is actually very good. As you see, the benchmarks down here is 5% click-through rate. So they did really well. And they actually did pretty well in these outlying markets, you know, almost 3.5%, 6.3%, and almost 4%. So definitely something you may want to consider is reaching out to different markets outside of your local community. Okay, One of the ways that we kind of our philosophy behind recruitment marketing is that direct response, getting in front of active job seekers, that brand awareness, getting out into the community, people who may not know who you are, letting them know who you are, letting them know what opportunities you have. And then finally sourcing, having your recruiters be proactive and going out and finding candidates. So there are a couple of resources that we use a lot. One of them utilizing Indeed. Indeed, they have their own, resume database where candidates can upload their resume, their, all the information about themselves, and your recruiters can purchase a subscription to source those candidates and to find them. So your recruiter can search for registered nurses in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and see how many candidates come up and that are in the Indeed resume database. Indeed does it a couple of different ways. It's not like an annual license. They have something called a standard annual subscription, which allows your recruiters to have 30 contacts a month, where they can reach out to a contact, 30 contacts during a month. Now, if that candidate responds either negatively, if they respond negatively and say, please, I'm not interested, please don't contact me, because they responded, you get one contact back in your arsenal. If you received feedback from someone you reach out to that's positive, saying, yes, I am interested, or something to that effect, you get 2 contacts back. Now, the reason Indeed does this is they want you to be as specific and detailed in your communication to the candidates as you can. So they don't want people to blanket a very general message out to candidates. They want you to say, hi, Susan, I saw your resume on Indeed. I see you have this experience. I see you've worked here. We have these positions open. Are you interested? So really being specific to the candidate, that's how you're going to get the most response back. Otherwise, it's, they're going to kind of just whiz right through it. It's going to be kind of almost like spam. So that is how they have set it up. A standard annual subscription, you get 30 initial contacts a month. It's a $960 annual license. There's also a professional annual subscription where you get 100 contacts each month. Same situation with the negative and positive responses in terms of getting contacts back. And that's $2,400 a year. So depends on how active your recruiters are. We do want to make sure though that you utilize them. At times we feel like subscriptions are purchased and they kind of sit there from month to month. So if you are interested, I definitely would recommend it, but make sure that your recruiters will utilize it. So super important. If you're interested, it does usually take about, I would say, 2 business days to get a subscription up and running. Grayscale license. So many of you were probably on the demo a couple of weeks ago. This is a vendor that UHS has decided to partner with that allows you to text candidates who are already in your ATS. So candidates who may have been in there, have applied for a job maybe 6 months ago. It's just helping re-engage with those candidates, helping them start the conversation again. If you have a position open now that wasn't open before, it's saying, I noticed you applied for a position 6 months ago. We have a new position open. Would you be interested in this? So use the candidates that you already have and who have already expressed interest. It's a really, great way to communicate with them. Again, text, a very easy way to get in their hands right away. So that we're filing that agreement right now with Grayscale. We're aiming for a start date of October 1st. If you're interested in a license, let me know. It's $2,208 for an annual license. If you're not interested now, you can always, purchase it during the year and just it'll be a prorated cost for however long you use it from, that point on until the end of the agreement.
Hey, Tracy.
Hey, Tracy,
Yes.
I just wanted to quick add something there. You can actually use this tool to text anyone that has a mobile number. So if you have folks that you've had sitting in a sponsored job dashboard on Indeed, there's a mobile number in there. You can text those in campaigns. You can also use this tool for scheduling of interviews, reminders for onboarding, You have unlimited text once you have a seat on Grayscale. So anyone with a mobile number you can go after from a courting standpoint, and you can use that tool for other avenues as mentioned. And I think Scott had a couple items he wanted to add as well.
Yeah, perfect, Ken. So Grayscale is, to make a distinction, there was some really good chat discussion, Tracy, when you brought up the next opportunity. And so wanted to make a distinction there as well. So the next product is utilizing their database. So it's a private database of healthcare professionals that they've acquired versus Grayscale or Text Recruit, which we were using before through ISOMs, which is coming from candidates that are already either in our ATS, so in ISOMs, or maybe they're in Skill Survey Source or in other lists that we've obtained from job fairs, et cetera. So that's the main distinction between the two. We've tested Next in several different markets for nursing, and the results were pretty mixed. And I don't think their database is all that clean. So we targeted what we thought were nurses, but the responses that we received were actually nursing assistants or home health aides. So I would say if you were to prioritize these different sources, I would go with an Indeed hiring event over a Next campaign. I would certainly go with a Grayscale license over a Next campaign. I think that is, probably at the bottom of the list from my perspective, just based on performance using that tool over the last few months or so.
Okay. And definitely, I mean, everyone's going to have different experiences with things. It depends again on the market, depends on the job titles. So it's totally, when we get a request from, any of your facilities, we really take a look, of your particular situation, and we will definitely recommend what we think is going to look best, for you. So it's not the same recommendations over and over that we're giving everyone all the time. We're definitely looking and trying to customize, each proposal or each recommendation as we see them. And also looking at past campaigns, right? So taking a look at what you've run in the past and seeing, how well did it perform? And if it didn't, then we're going to try something new. So we take all of that into account. The last part here are recruitment strategies. So I know a lot of you reach out to us, through the Extranet site, or when you're emailing the team and you're saying, I just need an Indeed hiring event, or I just need to sponsor jobs on Indeed. And that's fine. We can definitely accommodate that. We also want to say we can do more than that. We can help you build a strategy that's a longer duration of time, and really helping you build up that candidate traffic or candidate flow on a more consistent basis. So a lot of times we're developing month-long campaigns, or 2 month or 3 months, or even, obviously with some of the larger acute hospitals, we're doing annual strategies. But maybe trying something on a 3-month duration where, at any given time you have something in place. And I just, this is broken out into 3 different slides here, but this is something that we put together for Arbor Counseling and Senior Care. This is month 1. So we developed a social bite that they put on their Facebook page. We recommended they put some monthly budget behind Indeed. They run a Facebook campaign just in month 1. In month 2, we recommended, again, freshening up that social bite, maybe doing, maybe promoting a different position. Again, putting, making sure that they supplement their Indeed budget. We proposed doing a text blast and also a search engine marketing campaign. So that was month 2. Month 3, again, refreshing that social media post. We want to make sure it's a fresh message and that the candidates aren't seeing the same message over and over again. So maybe it's just replacing an image on the social bite, or maybe it's, totally a different position. But just, freshening that up. Again, putting budget on your Indeed dashboard. A geo-targeting campaign, something that we didn't highlight here today, but we can do. It's, targeting people in a certain geography or locations of, competitor sites. And then creative, it was just, our development fees for any of the creative that we had to develop. So just a longer term strategy. It's nothing that we don't lock people into. It can change over time. A lot of the media that we work with these days are, like I said, PPC, cost per click, pay-per-click mediums, where we can start and stop campaigns at any time. some media aren't, but a lot of media are these days. So if something is just not working, we can always stop it and transfer the funds to something else. So we like to work with that like that. We don't like to lock in people's money to something that's not working. And finally, how to work with us. Like Ken plugged earlier, we would love for you to use your extranet site. This is the web address, the UHS at recruitmentrequest.com. It's a full-blown website that has information on Shaker. It has examples of creative examples of things that a lot of your the UHS facilities have done, so you can see what they're doing. It has a request form for you to submit a request. And when you submit a request, it goes to the entire team at Shaker, which it's about 10 people strong, where every single one of us is receiving that request and can hop on it very quickly. And it has resources. Like a lot of times we're doing, Ken and team have set up webinars with Indeed for them to really explain their products. Also, things like today's, I'm sure we'll put this presentation on the Extranet site. So just resources for you to go to, along with requesting advertising. You could also use our, come to us via email, and we recommend that you use UHS@shaker.com. Again, that gets to our entire team at Shaker. So, sometimes I know you get used to working with one person on our team, whether it's myself or Tam or Kelly or Jay or whoever it is, but I highly recommend you start using UHS@shaker.com, because if they're on PTO one day or if they're in meetings all day, you're not relying on them, to get back to you, right away, where, if they can't, then someone else can. So definitely, if you're gonna email Tam directly, make sure you CC UHS@shaker.com, and someone else can fill in if she can. And that is it. I know we're running right up against time. Let me leave time for any last minute questions.
Anyone that has any questions, please feel free to take yourselves off mute and just ask them if they've not been answered in the chat. You can do that, or I can unmute the lines as well if you're having any trouble.
This is Jackie Panino from Old Vineyard. How is everyone today?
Good, thank you.
Is there an opportunity to actually have a one-on-one meeting? Because all these ideas sound great, but we obviously can't do everything immediately. So a targeted approach.
Yes, absolutely. And we welcome that. So Jackie, I am very familiar with you. So we will communicate after this, and we can set up a time to chat, later this week, if you have time. And we can talk through some options. All right.
Thank you.
Jackie, I think that's a great, kind of segue, thinking about a more, long-term strategy. We're constantly getting into this, very quick, just post and wait for candidates, or do, one-off career fairs. But in this market especially, I think having a more protracted view, 4, 5, 6 months, like Tracy just outlined, I think that's going to be really key to a lot of these hospitals thinking about not just current candidates, but how do I continue to get my pipeline, keep it filled with future prospective candidates. So I think, when you have those targeted meetings, you can kind of put some of those, plans together and keep it fresh. Don't kind of, stick to, the one kind of formula, but think about mixing it up and try to, get in front of some different, folks that maybe you haven't touched, before. So I think that's great, information, Tracy, and just an awesome presentation on all of the different services that obviously you and the Shaker folks put together for us. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know it's super tough for you guys out there, and know you're not alone. We have a lot of different types of clients at Shaker, and everyone is in the same boat. Obviously, healthcare is, has a lot more sense of urgency. And so we understand, the kind of the franticness that's happening right now, and we will do everything we can to help, do what we can to help you increase your candidate flow. So again, try and do more than Indeed sponsored jobs. Yes, again, that's a great place to be, but in this type of, environment that we're finding ourselves in right now, it's just trying to find candidates wherever they are, right? So.
Yep. And I think the one other point you mentioned that's key is that you need to be prepared to invest the time. So if you make the dollar investment in Indeed resume and in the Grayscale license, for example, these are tools that are proactive sourcing. So the candidates aren't going to come to you through these tools. Someone needs to devote time to use them properly, and they're very easy to use. So once you get kind of the initial training, you're up and running. So maybe build time into your day, in the morning or midday, a few times a week, where you know that you're going to sit down and not have many distractions, and you can focus on using those tools appropriately. And that way you'll get the return, obviously, on those investments.
Well, I appreciate the time. Please reach out to us if you have any questions at all. If it's not myself, it's someone else on the team that will respond. Would love working with all of you. Appreciate the partnership that we've had over the last 3 years, and we're here to help.
Thanks so much, Tracy. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks everyone for joining, and we will be posting the recording of this as well on SharePoint as we do. So thanks again, Tracy, and everybody have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.